Hello, hello. Steve, Canadian Sasquatch, coming at you with a Mead Monday. That's right, I'm going to answer some more questions today. But first, we're going to crack into a cold one here. Because it's been one of those weeks yet again. What we have here is my 100% rye wine braggot. I'll put this there. Nice and carbonated. So it's a 100% rye malt grain bill with mesquite honey, aged on toasted mesquite that was soaked in rye whiskey. So cheers, everybody. And it was forced carbonated in a keg. So with that out of the way, we are going back to white powders. We have some more white powders to talk about. I could go on and on about powders. I mean, I have a box of that I actually call random powders. This week, though, we are going to go on the opposite end of where we were a couple weeks ago when I was talking about acids. And I actually have my bag of citric acid right here. A lot of recipes and whatnot call for adding acid. On the flip side, they call for adding alkaline or bicarbonates or something. So I was going to go through some of them ones that are common in the household. So bicarbonates are an alkaline, so you have the extreme alkaline, sodium hydroxide, aka lye. Most people may not have this. This particular jug of it is food grade, which I use for making pretzels. But you're definitely not going to use that in your mead to raise the alkalinity of a mead. That is just an extreme example of that. Another one that pretty much everybody will have is baking soda. And pretty much everybody has baking soda because you cook with it, you put it in your fridge to reduce the smells. Don't use the baking soda that's in the fridge for your meads, because those smells that it's sucking out of the fridge, they're going into this stuff, and then that will go into your mead, and that will be nasty. But the other thing that people will go for is potassium bicarbonate. And I got a little bag, I got a big bag. And the reason why you go with the potassium bicarbonate over baking soda is because baking soda, probably been showing the wrong side the whole time. The baking soda is sodium bicarbonate. And the key word there is sodium. Most people don't need more sodium in their diet. And if you use too much sodium bicarbonate, you can get a little bit of a salty flavor in your mead. But if you use potassium, and most people don't actually get enough potassium in their diets, so that's a good thing to add. You don't get that salty flavor. It just does what it's supposed to do, which is raise the alkalinity. Now, there's some recipes out there that call to put it all in, like right up front. You add the honey, you add the water, you add the yeast, you add the bicarbonates right up front. Again, I'm not a fan of that because that could raise the alkalinity too much. And so you might have an issue with the yeast not being able to do their job because it's too alkaline. And with yeast, you want the alkalinity between about 3.5 and 4.5. That's when the yeast are the happiest. So if you raise it too high, then the yeast aren't happy because it's too alkaline. If you drop it down too low, then the yeast aren't happy because it's too low. So yeah, don't add the white powders unless you absolutely have to. All this quick talking is making me thirsty. Cheers, everybody. So yeah, again, it's check the pH of your must and only add the white powders, either the acids or the bicarbonates as needed. And when you would add the potassium bicarbonate is if the pH level of your must is below 3.5. If it's below 3.5, then you need to add a little bit of the potassium bicarbonate. And the best way to do it is, this package says half a teaspoon per gallon lowers total acid by 0.1%. I was like, I don't know the percentages of the acidity. I do know how much I have. I'll have 1 gallon, I'll have 3 gallons, I'll have 6 gallons. So what I typically do is I actually add half a teaspoon per gallon, as it says, mix it, wait a little bit, and then check the pH. And if it's still too low, then I add half a teaspoon per gallon. Again, mix it, wait a little bit. I usually wait about 5 minutes and then check it again. Doing it that way, and then that way it gets a chance to mix throughout, lower the acidity, which raises the alkalinity, so the pH will go up as you're doing this. The other thing about doing that is you need to be careful of the MEAs, the Mead explosion accidents, when you're adding potassium bicarbonate or sodium bicarbonate or any kind of bicarbonate if your must is acidic, because this will react with the acid and it will foam. You guys remember when you would play around with vinegar and baking soda and it explodes out? You probably made like little tiny volcanoes as kids or whatever, and it just, yeah, that's exactly what we're doing here with the bicarbonates and an acidic must. Vinegar is an acid, baking soda is an alkaline. You mix the two, they react, you get that foaming mess. The same thing will happen with an acidic must and the bicarbonates. They react, they cause all the foaming and bubbling, and it will just shoot everywhere if you're not careful. This is another reason why I like to do primary fermentations in buckets. It's a whole lot easier to control that the MEAs in a bucket, even when you're doing this. This way it doesn't come shooting out the hole through the top of a carboy. So yeah, that is potassium bicarbonates, and when you're adding the alkalines to your must. So just a nice short one this week, just kind of follow up of the last one where I talked about the acids and when you add it, and like I said then, it's don't add them until you absolutely need them. You can go to your homebrew store and buy some pH strips. You just put a little dab on the pH strips and see what color pops up. You know what? Hold that thought. Still holding that thought? pH strips. I went and got mine. Crack them open. So all it is a piece of plasticky cardboard with a little dot of chemicals on the top. So all you have to do is you grab a spoonful of your mead, put it up here, and Depending on the pH level of your mead, this will change. You then compare it to the scale. On this case, it's on the bottle, well, in the bottle, but so depending on the pH level all the way around, I will know what color it is. I just match them best as possible. Flip this around here so you guys can see it. Just kind of match it best as possible to that, and I'll know which pH level it is. And like I said, yeast for meads, they like it between roughly 3.5 and 4.5. So we've got a 3.6 and a 4.4, and we rarely will see a must be over alkaline. They usually become acidic, more acidic. So the pH lowers down, so that's usually a problem. So that's why it's always good to have some potassium bicarbonate on hand so that you can adjust that and raise that pH level up to where it needs to be. You can use baking soda in a pinch, as I mentioned, but it's better to use the potassium so you don't have the opportunity of sodium flavors, salt, essentially, in your must, unless you're making like a Goza style mead, which isn't a bad thing. I've had a salty peach mead. Last year's Canadian Sasquatch Mead Challenge, there was one of those. It wasn't intentional, but I still enjoyed the heck out of that mead with that little bit of salty on it. It was actually really good, and I'm not a Goza. I'm not a fan of the Goza style typically, but this particular peach mead was, yeah, I drank that one very, very quickly. And again, I got my rye wine braggot here. Tasting oh so fine. So yeah, that is everything I have for you guys this week. Don't add your white powders unless you absolutely have to. With that, my friends, we're going to call this Mead Monday a close. Remember, the video series and the book is now called Mead Methodologies. You will see a link for it down below. Directly to that page, you can access both the videos and the book at the same time. Shirts, we got the CSB shirts. Make mead be happy, because hey, we are a happy lot because we're making mead. Links will be down in my store down below, along with a lot of the various mead making stuff that you can find. It's an Amazon store, so everything down there you can buy and goes through Amazon. With that, my friends, please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, if you learned something. Give me a thumbs down if you think I suck. But if you do, give me some feedback on how I can fix the sucky. That way I know what's going on and I can make it better next time. I know I have audio issues. I know I have lighting issues. As you can see, my background's a little different because I turned my table just to try and get some lighting, fix some of the lighting issues. And yeah, I'm going to stop rambling now because that's a bunch of nonsense. Cheers, everybody. Thank you for joining me once again this Mead Monday. Be sure to have a pint of awesome, because I know I will. Cheers.